Welcome to Otaku Time Machine, a show that takes you through the God, I did not fucking practice that. I was ready, I had it, and then I wasn't. Take two. All right, three, two. No. Welcome to Otaku Time Machine, a show that takes you through the anime archives of yesteryears. I'm your Captain Frankfurter, and with me today is Drew Tendo64 and Magically Average. And today we're going back to 2016 and reviewing Erased. Now, show of hands before we get into anything further. Have both of you seen the show before watching it just now?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, so I was alone. Gotcha. Lovely. Love it. So once upon a time, this show did have a dub. I don't know where it is anymore. It doesn't exist on the internet unless you're sailing the high seas. But it does have a dub. But I assume everybody here watched the subtitled version.
Correct, Mundo.
Yes.
Lovely. So did I. So we are not going to be talking about the dub version. So if you have been lucky enough to watch it back when it was on the internet, good for you. And I believe it probably is available via DVD format, but it is unfortunately gone to the archives. But yeah, no, Erased. A lovely little 12 episode show, 13 if you include the kind of recap of episodes 1 through 6.
We don't.
But what? We don't know? Y'all
No.
didn't watch it? No?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
What?
I
Lovely.
did accidentally.
Yeah. You
Well,
didn't
that's
throw
just
you,
true
it
then.
didn't throw you off, Drew, that it was labeled 6.5.
Well, it was on autoplay, and then I zoned out because I was
Zonked
watching
out.
it at
Yeah.
while I was doing something else, and then I froze like midway through the episode, going, "Wait, I've heard all this before," and I was too lazy to skip it, so I
I,
just let it play.
I like how it took
Fantastic.
you halfway through. It wasn't like the whole fact that he went back doing this like normal job and all the other stuff, but all right.
Fantastic. Yes, this is when I say lovely, I don't actually mean talking about the show in the sense of its themes, but it is a lovely little 12 episode show, open close story. If you're looking for that weekend binge, we may or may not suggest it. We'll get to that. But this is a story about Satoru, a 29-year-old manga artist who made his debut but is struggling after. He works part-time at a pizza place making deliveries, and he's got this weird mystical gift that allows him to go back in time about a minute to 5 minutes to basically stop a disaster from happening, usually something life-threatening to somebody else. And occasionally he gets caught in the crossfire, but it kind of comes with the territory. But this all kind of comes to a headway where the actual plot is where an event happens. He screams at the top of his lungs, and he's transported back to when he is 11 years old, back in old 1988, and has to relive his childhood. But minor spoilers, his childhood wasn't so peachy, and he was involved with some sort of kind of kidnapping crime spree type deal, like where his classmates were kidnapped and murdered. And so he's back in time, and he's like, you know what? I know I could have saved them. I'm going to save them. And he's there to save the day. So without further ado, let's get it. I mean, that's kind of your plot, but we do have a bunch of characters that I would like to just kind of go over, talk about briefly before we kind of hand over the show to you two goobers and get your opinions on it. So, the main players in this show that you do need to know are Satoru, who's the main character, Kayo, who is the girl that he is trying to save when he goes back in time, Yoshiro, which is their teacher, and Sachiko, which is Satoru's mom. And then we do have like a smaller group of people who are important to the plot, which is the main friend group, who is Kazu, Kenya, Hiromi, and Osamu. Sorry. And then there's two lesser important characters, but very important, kind of, and that is Airi and Sawada, which we can talk about later. But with all of that out of the way, all that brain melting information, what do y'all think overall? Just kind of like broad strokes, no spoilers. What do you guys think? Drew, we'll start with you, just so you don't fall asleep. Your
Yeah,
character model doesn't fall asleep.
I know. I have to hold my eyes open for it to register that I have my eyes open. So overall, this show hit me at a very unique point in time in my life over the last month. So no spoilers for my life, but yeah, there's some themes in it that hit hard. Overall, though, I was very appreciative about how they handled situations, um, the flow of it. I never minus the recap episode. If I had taken that out, the flow would have been perfect. Um, I feel that there are points, I'll get to them when we talk spoilers, about rushing, but overall, stop making those faces. I can see you. Um, I really enjoyed it. I'm not gonna put it in like my top 10, but it's gonna get close. It's up there for me.
You're a
Nice.
fool. You're a fool for not putting it in
Ooh.
your top 10. This
Is
is
it the Gilbert Gottfried, the fucking Hollywood squares?
You're
You fool!
wrong.
you're wrong.
Anyways, that's a very dated reference. Continue.
This is probably the most criminally underappreciated anime I've watched. Just in terms of like the history behind it, no one talks about it. For something that came out, and granted, it came out almost 10 years ago now. It's just I never hear a peep about Erased. It's always like up there as like ooh, you should watch this. But no one, it's not on people's lists of like, these are the best 10 series over the last X amount of years, or these are the best series to come out during this block of time, whatever. And I'm like, I watched it for the first time and I'm like, this is an injustice that Erased does not have the level of notoriety that it rightfully deserves. This was fantastic. This is easily in my top 10 now. Like, no question.
Yeah, so when I originally watched it, back when I know old man me, oh, I watched it before it was cool. When I watched it when it was airing, I thought it was great. No, I'm right there with you. It was an amazing story. It's something that's kind of it's not necessarily that it's hard to recommend because it is a great, in my opinion, I think it's a great show. But as Drew's saying, thematically, there are some things in here that will hit very close to home for some people, and it is can be very difficult to watch. So it's not necessarily something that's really at the top of my like, you gotta watch this. This show is, phenomenal. I do think it is. I do think it is phenomenal, but it's one of those things that it is harder to recommend.
Eh, that's fair. I mean, so
So
it's more grounded. There's a level of reality to it that I understand, but I will say there is still some fantastical nature to it that you can, remove yourself from being placed in that type of situation or that scenario, right? Because it's the same
yeah,
thing of like death and destruction and being like, oh, I can't recommend Attack on Titan because there's just too much death and death is always around us. It's like, yeah, but there's not fucking 50-meter giant humanoid things like rampaging through the streets and knocking down houses and gobbling people up. So
As far as you know.
it's true, but I understand that piece. It's just I don't know it for the type of media that's out there. Maybe I'm very naive to this regard, but for the type of media that's out there, unless you have something that's very close to home for you, which we'll get into it when we get into spoilers. It really hits home, then fine. But I would say you can easily set yourself apart from this since there is like a time travel aspect effectively.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
And
for
by
sure.
my knowledge, no one can time travel. And if you can,
What are you doing here?
yeah,
Go
exactly.
Yeah,
Go
go
back,
invest
go
in
back and fix
Apple.
this shit, please. For the 30 years I've been alive,
Oh.
go back and fix it from the very beginning because it
What
has
if
not
this
been.
is the fix?
It's not been a fun ride. No, don't say that. There has to be something better than this.
we're going back to France, boys.
But
Marty,
I want to chime
Marty,
in.
we're going back.
We gotta get the guillotine,
We're gonna
Marty.
go back.
We got to eat the cake.
No,
I want to chime in and agree with the grounded aspect. There is a very well done, uh, not even just plot for it, but it's like the environment, okay? Like whether we're in someone's house, whether we're at school, whether we're playing in the snow, because they live up in Hokkaido, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
childhood is in Hokkaido, somewhere in Hokkaido.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the environment like has that, like you feel cold. Where I live personally, we had like 2 days of actual spring, and then it decided to be like, hey, we're gonna play with this weather pattern called fall. I know it's not supposed to be here for another 8 months, but here have some. So it actually was chilly for me while I was watching this, so some of those colder scenes really felt cold, and it was really like it did give you the, what is that, the suspension of disbelief. Like you're invested in the show, you're having a time, and then you're like, oh, whoa, okay, where did that hour go? I just binged like 3-4 episodes, whatever.
Yeah. It's we can be together in solidarity, Drew, because it's also been very cold by me. So
Yeah, I think I
we're
think we're part of
we're
that same weather pattern.
we're close
And here
enough.
I am. Here I
We're
am.
Shut up.
Eskimo
Sweating my
brothers
fucking
with the
ass
weather.
off.
Shut up.
It's
You
like
you don't have a basement. I don't want to hear
it's
it
like
from you.
it's like 80
You
degrees plus
weirdo.
70% humidity, so it's like
Shut your mouth.
99 every day.
Whatever. All
Just
right.
just
Anyway.
shut your mouth. Shut
I'd
your mouth.
much prefer the cold over the warm if you're wondering here.
What happened
Anyways,
in this
moving
anime?
on. We're going to move into spoiler territory, so if you've not watched the show and anything we've said has been interesting at all, please, by all means, pause it here, go watch the show. It'll take you, 4 hours, if that. Come back, re-listen to the rest of the episode.
4.5 if you watch the 6.5 episode like Drew did.
Correct.
Do
So,
it.
without further ado, we're getting into spoiler territories. Yeah, as the person who rewatched the show and haven't watched it from like since it came out, all I remembered about the show was mom dies, he goes back in time to being a child. They're living on a bus for a couple days, and teacher is the killer. That's about it. Like, and they trapped him, and he like falls on like a big pillow at the very bottom, and that's how it ends. Like, that's all I remembered. I don't remember any of the middle. I don't remember the other kids that were being killed or kidnapped. I don't remember the hockey shit. I don't remember anything.
You remembered all of the plot points that ruined the surprises. You
Exactly.
remember all the critical moments in the anime where you're
I was
just
like, at what
oh
point
god, it's
again
gonna...
did they? Yeah, I was like, at what point again do they remember that? Oh yeah, it's the fucking teacher. It's not until just like they like the reveal is like when they're in the car with the fucking no lollipops falling out. He's like, "This is not my car, kid." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
dude, that was
that's right."
So, all right, well, let's start at the very beginning then, since you
Yeah.
spoiled it for yourself by like
Yeah.
fragmenting things together,
Like-
basically like Satoru did with his memories.
Fragmenting.
To be fair, and this is credit to where Erased is. I've watched so many shows over the past decade plus of anime. And this one has actually stood out to where I can remember the general plot and the big plot points. Like,
That's
I
surprising.
do remember loving Angel Beats. I could not tell you anything other than the fucking ending of that show. That's
All
it.
I know is the
I
theme
don't-
song.
I don't remember anything else about Angel Beats except for the ending. So it's just like one of those things, like, at least this one stuck with me, and for good reason. Like, it was a great show.
Yeah.
But yes, if
So-
you would like to start from the top, by all means, go for it.
So, yeah, from the beginning, main character, Satoru, inner monologuing like any good MC does. We find out in the first like 3 minutes of the episode 1, that he has the ability to go back in time. And it's called, he calls it revival, right? A little blue butterfly flaps its wings by, and he snaps back, and he's like, oh shit, I was just here. What's going to happen? And he has to basically try to figure out from wherever he's at what is going to cause the tragedy, and then has to prevent it, right? The one thing I will say, though, as a little nitpick I had, was we never really knew if he ever got multiple chances. Like, if he kept fucking up, right? Like, if he kept screwing it up over and over and over again, would it just keep resetting him until he finally figured it out? Or did he have, like, one shot, right?
Well,
Yeah.
So
I guess, don't we figure that out? Oh, never mind. I was going to say the first time it happens, because it only happens once.
It only happens once. Each time it only happens once, too. So
So,
that's
yeah,
the
no, I
idea.
have no clue. That might be more expanded on in the manga because there are 8 volumes, so
Maybe.
they covered a lot of ground in 12 episodes.
Well, I'll say it off the top though. They did a fantastic job. I thought the pacing was really well done. I thought it took its time in certain areas in a very meticulous manner that made you really pay attention and focus, and then sped up at some times to be like, this is less important but still gives
Okay.
some added benefit to the story, right? But it's less
Like,
so of we're putting less of an emphasis on it because it's not as impactful, or it's not as critical to progressing the plot. It's there because it's meant to be, but not as a placeholder, not just fluff. It has a
yeah.
purpose. It's just not going to push it along like some of the other pieces are that we're going to spend time on. And you're like, okay, I
I
can
think like
appreciate that.
a good example of that would be near the end where they are going to they save the main girl and
Yeah,
then they go on to kind of like the other 2 kids that are kidnapped and they kind of do like a montage of them hanging out in the hideout, just like becoming better friends. It's like cool. From that montage, I know that they are a
Yeah.
good group of friends now.
yeah,
That did not need to be an episode on its own.
yeah, exactly. Um,
I I agree, but the one thing, like where you're saying about pacing, the one thing that kind of annoyed me was the after Kaio gets saved, and he's like, "Okay, I got to save these other people." He saves the friend in the friend group, but when they have to save the girl from the like other school, I felt it was like, "Hey, I'm from another school. Let's be friends." I don't trust you.
I know
Okay.
your name and you like piano.
well, I will disagree
Okay.
from the standpoint that the direct interactions with that character, whom I cannot remember her name. So Frank, you can look it up and help me if you want.
It's
Otherwise,
like Nishiki or
we'll
something.
call her Girl C, because there's 3 girls that get kidnapped, or sorry, 2 girls that get kidnapped and killed. There was another student who was a male student, but came off as very feminine. They made sure to point that out, and I thought that was a very interesting piece of information too, as things progressed and unraveled. Um, she was from another school. There are parts where he's trying to figure out how to talk with her and following her and like understanding her routine, and that fucks up the teacher, because when he's doing his evil villain, ha, I'm gonna write your name in the Death Note book type shit in the car. He's like, you somehow knew at every single turn where I was gonna be and what I was gonna be doing next, and you are 11. How the fuck did you do that? And
Yeah.
there's the
So
pieces of when he's with Kaio and helping her out when she is, this is, we'll say, um warning,
second chance.
sensitive warning. No,
Oh,
just sensitive warning on some of the topics that we're talking about. Like when Kaio is being abused by her mom, and like her mom would throw her into the shed, like he went out and rescued her. Or actually, that weekend he prevented her from being beaten entirely because they were hiding on the bus. So like there was that part. There was he was always walking home with his friend who was the second target, like after he saved Kaio. And then for the girl that's from another school, all he did was kind of like weirdly stalked her to know what she was doing at like after
taking
school.
notes too on just
Yeah.
like this pad, just like
Well, kinda. He was just like, okay, she goes from school and she goes to this bus stop, and then she goes to piano lessons, and then she has cram school, and then she goes to this bus, and then this is where she kind of lives in this neighborhood. And he's like, eventually we're gonna have to cut her off. But like when he's doing that, the teacher is nearby because that's his now
Next target.
current target. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just kept getting in the way. So like he doesn't have the Satoru doesn't have the direct interactions with her like he did with Kaio and with his good friend too, like in their friend group.
so friend
But
is Hiromi.
Hiromi.
The girl that he follows is Aya Nakanishi.
Okay, I wanted
I
to
was
say Aya,
close.
but yeah, so like when he keeps hanging out with Hiromi and like making sure that Hiromi's good, and then obviously when he's pseudo stalking Aya, like they didn't have the type of close encounters and interactions like Kaio, but that's because Kaio had a larger backstory in that, like, as a kid in his previous timeline, we'll say, he remembered the moment when he saw her in the park, and that was the last time anyone had seen her basically before she was announced missing, and then eventually down later on, found out that she was dead.
Waited.
Yeah, he had to piece that together, and I'm gonna keep talking because I everything just flowing out. So please interrupt
Yeah,
me, and
no.
I'll stop at some point. But that was the first part when I was like, ooh, erased. I like the concept of it being Satoru having all of his memories erased as a kid because they were so traumatic, right? Like his mom made a comment in the first episode of like, you probably don't remember this. Most of you kids don't. We probably erased it from your
We
memories.
try to erase your memories of
Yeah.
the events.
In a protective way, not like in a like a cruel parental way of like, we're going to shelter you from all the world. It was like this is a very traumatic thing for an 11-year-old to go through. So we're going to try to have it we're going to address it appropriately.
It's not an Encanto situation where we don't talk about Bruno. No.
No. But I was like, oh, I like that. That he's having to piece together and fragment all of his memories to where now he's like, it's all coming back to him. It's flooding back to him. And we keep seeing this weird universe every time Revival comes around of like movie film kind of like starting to like connect back together and then like string along.
I did like
and
that.
I like that. I was like, I like this.
That was very pleasing. Like it really joined everything together. So you could for someone who had to watch that 6.5, it does connect those dots, and it gives you a little sense of like, okay, so if that happened, this happens, then this happens.
Yeah.
And to piggyback off of your excitement, when he does start getting closer to Kaio, when they do start becoming friends, you're like, all right, we got one. All right, perfect. And then you're like, oh, wait, didn't his mom say there were 2 more kids? And you're like, who are they? How is he going to figure it out?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? And a couple times he does get shifted back to the future. And he has to live with the consequences that the future timeline, they still think he murdered his mom.
Yeah.
Because she was
because
super
he
close.
ran away. He basically ran away, but was also there were things behind the scenes to where he was set up.
So this is
exactly.
So this is going back to my first comment on Revival and how it seemed like he only gets the one shot. This is the only instance where I would say that it seems like he does have multiple, but it's presented in a different way. So I'm going to go into deep theory for a second and then it'll tie back. So obviously the whole premise of this anime is built around the butterfly effect, right? Like where a butterfly flaps its wings, it flaps near a rhinoceros gets scared, it runs through the desert, hits into a tree, the monkey falls. It's a string of events, right, that all cause a chain reaction that inevitably affects something down the line. So the idea is that if you had the ability to go back in time to change something, conceptually speaking, you wouldn't have the same current present time that you have now, because the chances of it all falling in line again is slim to none. That goes out the window the first time he goes back when he's a kid and he tries to save Kaio, and Kaio dies again, right? In a slightly different way, I'd say. I think she's pushed back one extra day, I believe.
Yeah, he prevents the original abduction, but because of her mom
And her mom's boyfriend, they basically beat her to death. Which is horrendous. So he fails that goal again, and then it snaps him back to present day where, like you were saying, Drew, he's still on the run from the police because police believe that he killed his mom because he had blood on his hands from turning his mom over, which news for everyone. Don't touch a crime scene. That is
he was trying to shake his mom awake as if she was still alive.
No,
but then
we're not. No, mom's not awake. Okay, this isn't like a fucking no. This is not a Grave of the Fireflies type situation where you shake your little sibling and you're try to feed them when they're just literally dead. Okay,
Christ.
all right, she's gone. She's gone. You're 29 years
Well,
old.
why did you make me relive that?
Well,
why?
too bad. We all had to. Anyway,
Fuck, dude.
so, but yeah, but like that's where we see.
Spoilers for Grave of the Fireflies, I guess.
It says it in
Hey,
like the
and The
first.
Lion King,
It
too.
literally says it's in the first like 2 minutes. It's like, my brother died today, and it was like, okay, setting off on a good tone already.
Fair enough.
But like that's the first instance where we see like, okay, he messed up Revival. He didn't succeed at avoiding the tragedy that was to take place, right? And then he has to go through a situation in his adult life where I think in that part Irie, who is his coworker, was helping him and like put him in a house that her aunt and uncle owned.
Yeah.
And then like somehow the killer knew and set it on fire, and so like he had to go back and rescue her, and then there was a whole thing after that, and then like, oh, the police caught up, right? And then he gets captured, and you're like, oh fuck. You're like, well, I wonder how he's gonna do this out of prison. And then there was our sparking moment where the killer was there when the police were arresting him, and he noticed, and then Revival kicked, and then he went right back in time. Then 11-year-old him is like, buckle down, we got to get this shit correct, otherwise we in jail, son. We in jail. So that's where
and you're
we spent,
dead as fuck.
yeah, that too. And so that's where we spent.
What is it? Safe scrumming.
And
God damn it.
I think that started episode 4, and I want to say he was episode 4 or 5. I want to say like from that point on, most of the anime was as he was a child.
Yes.
And it was awesome because we got it established how Revival works. It established the main through line. It established like the fact that there's obviously like timelines being impacted by this, and that since he failed, he didn't affect the timeline. His mom, unfortunately, was still gone. He was still an accused killer, right? And his 3 childhood friends, well, sorry, the 2 of his childhood friends and the third were still dead, right? From however I can do maths, 18 years ago. So yeah,
15.
It was 15 years ago.
No, sorry, you're right.
No,
18
it was
you're
11.
right.
Yeah,
You're
it was
right. 18,
29.
18. Yeah.
And it was great. Like, and then you just enjoyed him doing all of his like spy, well, not spy, but detective style. Yeah, detective style mystery solving 11-year-old ridiculousness, where his one friend's like, I don't want to say that you're not you. I'm going to, but I can't prove that you're not you because you are you. And you're like, you're too smart for 11-year-old as well. So
did he revive as well?
Yeah. Well, okay. All right. I want to touch on that too, but we'll get to through the end of it.
I don't believe he revived as well, but my when rewatching this, my question about the friend who was like
Kenya.
Yeah, sorry, Kenya, was the fact that like we had in episode like 2 or 3 Kenya talking to the teacher. And I was just kept like me knowing that the teacher was the killer. I was like, wait a second. When are we going to see him talking to the teacher again, feeding him clues, and then it comes back out that like, oh yeah, I knew your movements because of Kenya, but it just never came to happen. I was waiting for that like shoe to drop, and it just didn't happen.
So,
well,
I wanted to bring that up too because when they talk, like in the first 2 episodes, we clearly see that like whenever the killer is around, he has like the red eyes, right? They zoom in, we can only see the eyes. And in that one scene where they're talking,
anybody is killing. It's not just the killer because Kaio's mom also had red eyes when she was about to do some things. So,
but in that episode where he's talking to Kenya, doesn't Kenya's eyes also go red?
I may have missed that detail. I don't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember.
I
think Kaio's does at one point because she asks Satoru when he first starts like in his first time reviving. She asks him like, would you kill someone for me or something like that? and he gets kind of shocked by it. And I thought her eyes turned red for like a split second, but I could be
I'm
wrong.
pretty sure they do, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a cool little clue to let you know, like, this person's motivation isn't the best, right? So when he first talks to Kenya, I wasn't like Frank. I didn't get to see the show before, but I was like, oh, are they working together? Are they working independently? Like, who could it be, right? And then
Yeah.
obviously the show plays out, and we get to know
Well,
who it is. But
and the other thing to it too is that like you don't know as the viewer if the red eyes is just something that's for your own eyes or if it's something that the
yeah,
characters see too, right? So like there's that other level, like layer of mystery about where it's like, is it just how they're being portrayed for us, or is it a thematic choice that like within the universe, like they can actually see their eyes turn red, right?
I think it's just for us, and just mostly it's like
Yeah,
just showing and representing like bloodlust, because like bloodlust is something that like I feel like a human can sense, but it's hard to put bloodlust into like actual animation. So what do we
yeah,
do? We make their eyes red. So to
yeah,
me, that's how I interpreted it. Is that whenever a character had motivations of killing, that it was just bloodlust in their eyes, and they didn't actually go red, but they did have that sense.
that
yeah.
nefarious look.
But
Yeah,
so there's two really big things that I want to talk about with this that I absolutely love, and this is coming from someone who adores string theory, multiverse type stuff. One being when we see the like film strips in the revival, we'll call it the revival realm, right? We see all these
sure.
film strips and we see them like some of them are connecting when things finally are coming back like in his memories. We see how they like get almost edited it over when things change from the original timeline. We see how they get extended out as new events take place when he finally like shifts timelines. And then we have the point where he's when he's a kid, when he realizes that his teacher is the killer and his teacher tries to kill him by locking him in the car, sending him into the river. We see all the film start to like break apart and the reel starts to slow down and everything starts to go like gray. And it's like, ooh, okay, so like that's like
Yeah, the
that's his
movie is
ending.
ended.
The
The
movie's
movie is
ended,
ended. The light
right?
bulb's over.
Right?
Yeah.
But a real key piece, and I want to say that they did this on purpose because I feel like every single piece of this anime had a very detailed purpose. When we find out that he's not dead, right? And things are coming back. He's been in a coma for what would it be, 15 years?
15 years.
Yeah,
Yep.
15 years because he's 26 when he gets up. 15 years, the film starts to slowly come back together and the reel starts spinning again. You're like, oh my God, he's alive. But there's still fragment in pieces. Like there's still pieces that disconnect, right? But
Mhm.
then as it spans out, you see all these other universes of film. And so you're like,
Yeah.
is that just him? Is that all the potential universes that he has created in different timelines? Or is it other people in this reality that has this same ability, that has the revival ability? And then you start to
Ooh.
question, like, is there anyone else
Yeah.
impacting this timeline that's affecting what I am creating in my film reel? Like, is there anything that's being spliced over from others? Like, is there, like, how are things interconnected? And it was like, blew my mind. The other cool thing, too, related to the film reels is that the intro, the beginning part takes place in a movie theater, and then like there's all those like inner sequences of stuff, and then like as the intro ends, it goes back to the movie theater. The intro changes when he is supposedly dead from the car being plummeted into the river. Neither him as a 29-year-old or his 11-year-old self are in the movie theater. They're taken out of every
Oh
single scene
yeah.
from the intro as well, where like that shows like him kid playing as kids or like him when he's an adult. They take them out of every single scene. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like it's so well done. It was perfect. Um that was my big like moment when I was watching. But the other one that destroyed me internally because I was like, this is what this is so impactful from the concept of, again, like string theory and the different realities, that it's like people probably missed it or like misinterpreted the ending piece. But when he's ending, he's a manga artist, he goes out on his walk, he goes underneath the bridge where he had to hide away in his other reality, in the other timeline, and he comes across a girl who's taking pictures, and that girl is Irie, who was the one who helped him in his original reality. And he has this like very emotional moment where like she comes up to him and she's just talking to like a normal stranger, and he's obviously reacting because he remembers her from the different timeline. And it's so impactful as the butterfly flaps its wings right nearby, because it's the acknowledgement that he didn't fuck up the timeline enough to ruin her future, right? Because the fear is that if you change something in the past, everything else in the future is unsettled. There's no guarantee. Irie might not have ever existed. Her parents might never have come together. She could have died at a young age. She could have moved to a different country, right? Like everything is not as it was in your previous reality or previous timeline. But the fact that she is here and is still present is like, I was just blown away. I was like, because that was the last piece, right? That was his last like missing piece. You could tell he was unnerved by something, even as an adult. Like he's now this successful manga artist. He's got an anime coming. Like he should be good, right? He saved all of his friends. Kaio had a baby, right? Kenya is a lawyer. Hiromi is a doctor. His other two friends are doing well with their family businesses. Like everything's good. His mom's still alive. It's great. But the one character that was always missing was Irie. And they made it a point to keep her hidden until the very end, because he only knew her when he was an adult, and he fucked up his whole adult timeline. And then she came back at the very end. Like she's the last scene. And I was just like, 10 out of 10, cinema. It's like that one Martin Scorsese thing where he's just like, cinema.
Yes, except we're forgetting one very, very, very important thing.
You can talk about the manager. I don't give a fuck about him.
No,
that dude's a dickhead.
No. At this point, he becomes a successful manga artist. It's like we can make the joke because holy shit, I just thought of this joke. In modern times, bro hit 1 million subscribers. What does he do? Underage kid. Here we go.
That's not.
Yes, she is 12 years younger than him. 12.
There's no romantic feelings. It is the fact that he finally gets the closure of realizing that he didn't fuck up her future. Like he didn't mess up this timeline to where she didn't have a place in it, right? There was no romance. His mom was the one that was pushing it. Like it was his mom. He was like,
he's
no,
crying when he sees her. He's not.
Yeah, he's not.
He doesn't get a nosebleed. He's
Yeah,
just like he's crying because he's happy.
Exactly. There's nothing sexual about it.
In my opinion, I thought it was like after the mom put it in his brain of like, you know, that like he does blush and do other things to the point where he does think about it, but it's like that's where I kind of left off, because like that is like the last memory of him and his mom and her like having the dinner. Just so to me it was just like, oh bro, don't go there, please. Don't be the million subscriber YouTuber cliche.
Remember when I started, like I began this whole ramble with like people probably misinterpreted it at the ending or completely went over their head. You're the people. You are the group of individuals that like went right over their head.
Regardless, there is one really funny meme that has gone around since the show's inception, and it's only gotten funnier since. And I put it in our kind of pod talk, etc. And it's a photo, and the photo is of Kaya, where it's just a picture of her and the baby. It says, "When your girl doesn't wait 15 years for you," and then it's the picture of the teacher underneath, and it says, "But your killer does." It's just like that was kind of heartbreaking. That is just like, I get it. Like he's in a coma, you never know when he's gonna wake up. But it's just like your girl left you, bro. Your girl left you
They
for
were-
your other friend who would have gotten kidnapped and killed too.
But there was never. Why does
No,
it
I know.
always
There
have
was
to be
never
a love thing?
romantic. There was never. Well, there was kind of romantic feelings there, semi, because
They
he
were
does
kids.
allude.
It was innocent.
Oh
They
yeah.
were just
No,
like.
No,
I'm
they
well
were
aware.
kids. He was 29.
This is true, but at the same, he had the mind of a 29-year-old. So
We're not.
But
I'm not
regardless,
doing this. I'm not doing this. We're not
Let's
going into this.
go.
We're not doing a Mushoku. That's not Mushoku Tensei Part 2. Okay, we're not doing this fucking bullshit.
regardless, the meme is funny of just like your girl didn't wait for you, but your killer did, and it's
No,
just like that part. That's funny.
I'm mad at you for saying that. I legit shed a tear when that scene came up. When he is in his wheelchair and they're like, he finally wakes up from his coma and they're all coming back to him, and like you just hear her voice and he immediately knows, because he's still trying to piece together all of his memories. Like, he didn't know Kenya and Hiromi when they first walked in, I don't think. Like, I think he
Yeah, he was
forgot.
fuzzy on the details.
Yeah.
But he knew they were important. That's what he knew.
Exactly. But like the moment she walked in and he heard her voice, he knew instantly. And it was just like the heartbreak of like, she, like, it's like, because we never saw her as an adult. She was dead in every single timeline except for this one. And it's just like, and then she had her baby, and I was just like, but it was very, I was watching it and I called it. I had like the what's that scene from fucking the Hollywood. I can't remember it.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
whoop,
You
snap
know,
his
the
fingers,
scene
but-
from the Hollywood
Yeah,
thing.
here I come,
that
here I
does
come.
the thing. Yeah, you know that fucking scene.
Drew
What
knows.
the fuck?
Drew knows.
No.
Yeah,
No.
Here I come.
it's Leonardo DiCaprio's character. He's like, whoop, 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 whoop. He points at the
Oh
TV.
God.
Yeah.
Okay, that,
He knows.
by the way, movie is called Catch You If You Can, or Catch Me If You Can.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's Once Upon a Time
It's
in
Once
Hollywood.
Upon a Time in Hollywood. Exact. Thank you, Drew. It's not Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, never mind.
You are all off. Anyway, I had that moment when he was talking with Kaio and her baby started crying, and like he put his hand up to the baby. And I was like, he's gonna get all of his memories back. It's all gonna come back then. And then like the scene goes on, next episode goes on, you get towards the end, and he's like, I have all my memories back, by the way, you fucker. When his teacher, now politician, has him on the roof. And like it flashes back to that moment and like touches the baby's hand and all the memories start connecting in the film reel. I was like, I fucking knew it. It's like so cliche, but it was still really well done. No, this anime blew me away. I was thoroughly impressed by how they navigated the butterfly effect, string theory, multiverse reality, timeline shifting, whatever you want to call it or categorize it as. It did it so well. It did it so well that it was very surprising, because a lot of the times anime can take that sort of generalized theory or concept and bring it to too fantastical of a perspective that it's just like unappealing or completely unimaginable, and it ruins it entirely. This one was fairly grounded in the concepts that you were like, wow, they did a very, very surprisingly good job at it.
I agree, because there's even early on in his first run through when he has to skate against the kid on the hockey team.
Yeah.
Because he thinks about it too while they're skating. He's like, hold on, I lost last time, but I can win this time. And then he kind of lets off to be like, hold on, like I don't know like how much I'm allowed to change, what this would affect. And that's why the other kid gets mad at him, because he's like, oh, you let me win. And he's like, no, I'm slow.
Yeah, that's a great scene. And thank you for bringing that one up, because it is the one, like the first moment when he acknowledges like, I have to be careful of what I do even now, because a minor shift from what happened before could drastically impact like even like the following minutes, right? Not even like the far future, like it's the very near future. Like each second from now could be completely shifted from before. And yeah, he had that realization where like he was beating him, let him win, but it was the same exact ending sequence that he happened. And he's like, "Oh fuck, did I mess this up?" Right?
Yeah,
And
is
then
this like it? No.
yeah,
Is
Just
this
I
supposed to
repeated the same
happen?
thing
Like,
I
yeah.
did last time. I
yeah,
did the same exact
Yeah,
thing.
then he's getting in that loop of like, am I supposed to go through the certain like checkpoints?
yep.
Like, am I not supposed to like get the +1 sword early? Like all that stuff, right? So
And I think
it's
it all came full circle when Kaio, her original day of being kidnapped and murdered, right, was shifted one, and he was like, "Oh, she's free in the clear," and then she still died, and he was like, "What?"
the fuck.
And then he got snapped forward back in, to the present day when he was 29, right? And it's like, ooh, okay, all right,
yeah.
I see what's going on. I like this, right? Like those little details are like super super impactful. And again, it goes back to the very first comment when we were talking about pacing, on how like they spent a meticulous amount of time on certain areas because it was supposed to be like hey, we're feeding you a
This is
lot.
important.
This is really important. You should catch on. We want you. We
Should
don't want.
remember.
Yeah, you should remember
Yeah,
this.
and the one plot hole that I have that I guess is kind of a minor gripe for me is the whole bus thing. And in the sense of they go to this bus, which they think is abandoned. There are some
Mhm.
boxes and whatnot in there, and they completely set up camp. And then the teacher, when he's foiled one night, comes onto the bus and kicks a box and then leaves, like drops off a backpack and then leaves. You can punch me all you want, but like at the same time, he's already set up his shit there. Like he knows what's there. How do you not see a fucking curtain, like shutting off half of the bus and more stuff in your bus that you think is the
It,
secret hideout? Like
did
to
we?
me, that is one thing that is kind of like
Drew, take it away.
a bit weird.
No. I'm a little bit like my foot isn't on Frank's boat, but the rest of me is on solid land. Um, did we see him with a flashlight? Did he come on the bus with a flashlight?
You guys
No,
missed. You
but
guys
there's
missed
an
a key piece of
Oh,
dialogue. That used to be a hideout for the students at that school. The
oh,
students
so he
of the
just assumed it
school where
still
the
was.
students of the school where the bus was abandoned on, in that yard area. Those students used to have like a hangout or a hideout there. Like there was a group of students, and the characters made mention of that. They're like, "Oh, they abandoned their previous hideout. They're somewhere else now."
Yes, and so the teacher made it his own hideout
Right,
where
but
he
like
can
but like
hide
the
his
curtain
shit.
and stuff and all that, like there were certain things in there that were there. The curtain was
No,
always
No,
there.
they put the curtain. No, they put the curtain
they
up.
put the
They
curtains up.
boarded up the windows on the one
They boarded
side.
up.
They put
Yeah.
curtains
No,
up
no. On the
too.
whole, they boarded up all the windows
No,
Yeah.
just the
in the
one
back.
side.
Oh, I
No,
thought they boarded them all up in the back.
regardless, they
Just
still boarded stuff up and they put the curtains up. That's why I'm saying, like, your
I
bus
don't
was fundamentally transformed. How did you not notice?
I,
I think back to what Magically Average was saying. Like he probably assumed the kids came back and they were playing in it again. Like
yeah.
it's easy
But
enough
then,
to
but if that's the case, then you have to. Why leave murder tools there? Take them away and take the rest of your shit with you. Like that's the one kind of like plot hole to me that I'm
Here's
just like, what the
here's
hell happened there?
here's a counterpoint to that entire thing. Even with the curtain up and all that stuff, right? As a adult who's traversing the woods at night outside of a school at the wee hours of the morning, would you expect an elementary student to be sleeping in the back of the bus?
No, but I'd
Specifically
still
the
check out what the fuck is going on with my bus, my murder bus.
oh my god.
Like, is
I
all my
I
shit still there? Is it
I
just like, is
Well,
it
because
like,
I think they put it all, like all that stuff was there already, right? And again, I think I'm not going to go into more on this, but I'm pretty sure from both sides had this mindset of it used to be previous kids' shit, right? That's what the teacher thought when he put his stuff in there, and then when our group got there and they saw all those boxes, they were like, "Oh, that's just from the other kids." They didn't think to check the murder boxes for murder
well, yeah,
equipment
I'm not saying
until
the kids.
later.
I'm not putting any blame on the kids because for them, yes, 100%. But the adult who is actively hiding shit
It's
there
It's like that whole thing of like when the two characters are trying to find each other and they got their backs turned and they keep circling around each other, right? It's like not the mistake of either one. It's just they didn't have the mindset to be like, what if I turn around really quickly the other way, right? It's the same thing here of like both had this concept of both had it in their minds that, oh, this was a former hangout or hideout of students from this school where the bus is at, because this is not our school. This is another school that I can't remember the name of. And the
Yeah,
teacher was
doesn't
like,
matter.
cool, throw my shit in there. Group of students was like, cool, shit's already kind of in here, but we'll go on this side. And then it was just like that funny thing of like, when you open the door and your buddy opens the door, you're like, you've been here the whole time? You're like, I was here first.
I still think that he should have pulled everything out that night if there was
How about
like
this?
things there, because he doesn't want to get anything discovered. I know if I were a
How about-
murderer or
how-
attempted murderer, a kidnapper, I wouldn't want to leave my shit where people were constantly going in and out of, especially the people that I'm trying to potentially kill.
How about
Like,
this?
But it's
no,
also,
I
like-
I wouldn't leave my shit there. I'd take it with me to that point.
But what if it's also like hiding in plain sight? Because by that time,
That's
his isn't he already? He's already been foiled from what's her face there,
Kaio's.
Kaya.
Yeah.
He's already been foiled there. He's trying to put enough stuff together to get his second person, which now he's realizing, well, my next target can be this effeminate kid in my class. Like, and he's probably so freaked out at that everything's like been foiled that he's not thinking straight. That's probably another thing too, because like
Yeah.
hysteria and like anger and
Well-
I don't know. I can't profile a murderer because I don't
The-
know any. But his like his thinking probably isn't that clear, and he's just probably like, fuck it, I'm gonna drop this here for the night. I'll come back for it. These kid, like, whatever's happening, like, I can't deal with this right now. I gotta get away from like my tools,
Yeah.
right?
The one, okay, and I should have mentioned this earlier when we were talking through a lot of the murder stuff. The one thing we should point out is that even though he killed two girls and a young boy who, again, was perceived to be a female by some of his classmates, even. I think that was a part of the conversation early on.
Yes.
Mhm.
They were not targeted because of their gender. They were targeted because they were alone and isolated. That was a very common theme. Kaya was isolated because obviously she didn't have the ability to make friends because she had a horrible home life and her mom refused to let her go on the weekends so her mom could, and her mom's boyfriend could beat the living fuck out of her in a horrible, sadistic way. And then Hiromi, both of his parents worked late, and so he always had to stay after at like this one like kids school area with like a,
Like
it was like
like
a
community
library.
center.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
kids center,
yeah, the kids center.
community center.
And then the girl from the other school was basically like an 11-year-old adult where she did everything on her own. Got on the bus to go into
Shakespeare and I play the piano.
yeah, basically that's what that was the first introduction. She's like, I read Shakespeare and I played the piano. What about it? But she like would go to piano lessons and cram school and all that stuff. But she was doing everything
Shakespeare
alone.
lessons.
So, and then because of all of the stuff that transpired with Satoru trying to protect Kaio, he effectively created another student in their class to be isolated and alone after he shamed her for accusing Kaio of stealing money from the class that was for their lunches, which spiraled into the last couple episodes where he was like, oh shit, the killer, whoever they are, is going to target this student next. And now I have to try to be friends with them, go to the ice rink, thought that she was leaving, follows her to make sure she's not alone. Teacher's like, oh, I saw her go this way. We'll go get her in the car. And then boom, teacher's the killer. And you're like, wow, crazy. Yeah. It was like a great sequencing of like, it all made sense where they uncovered very early on, like he's targeted, or they, I should say he or she, because we didn't know who the killer role was, but they were targeting students that were alone, isolated, completely deprived of any sort of friends or good family life, one or the other. And they eventually, after solving and avoiding the 3 known murders of the previous timeline, created the next one, and then that all caused him to find out it was his teacher. It was like, whoa, perfect. What a great sequence. It was excellent delivery. But yeah, this was, even with the bus little
Debacle.
nitpick, we'll say. How about this? I was going to say this earlier when you were rambling on about your ridiculousness. What if the title card was not them on the bus? What if it was something else? Would it make it less impactful, since the title card is somewhat notorious, given that it's kind of weird and creepy? It's like 2 kids with another kid kind of sitting. You see like a creepy shadow in the back, right?
No.
Would that make it any less of an issue that there was this random curtain in a bus?
No, like, if anything, I have another hole to pick there, because she has fucking
I'm
like a heating lamp.
I'm going to penetrate your
because
holes.
She has a heating lamp on as well to stay warm, so wouldn't he
they're
notice
all
that
off.
it's warm in the bus?
They're all off. They were all off. That's why she's shivering and cold.
They
were all
then
off.
I missed that
Frank,
detail,
you haven't
but I thought-
experienced true cold in years, okay?
Yeah,
you don't know
live in
how
fucking
fast.
Texas. Shut
Yeah,
up.
you don't know how fast it gets
Where we
cold in
gonna-
the winter.
where we get a winter freeze once every year.
Yeah. I live in a state that's a mitten. That's very apropos for the fact that you have to always be wearing mittens in this state because it's so goddamn cold.
Anywho,
And the other reason to keep your fingerprints off the weapon.
yes.
Full circle.
Drew, final thoughts for you, since we've pretty much gotten final thoughts from Magically Average here. Drew Tendo, final thoughts.
After talking with you guys, it does upgrade my scoring for the show. Like it is really well done. I really appreciate the insight and kind of helping connect those other dots that I kind of missed. But the one thing we didn't talk about, and I know we're already at final thoughts, the opening. Holy crap. Like that's another song that like you hear in the TikTok universe, people putting compilations to, and you're like, oh, that is a catchy song. And then when you realize it's Flow, right? Or Asian Kung Fu Generation?
I'll look it up.
I think it's
can't
Asian Kung Fu
remember.
Generation.
I make it a priority
is?
to not watch. I watch the intro only during
Asian Kung Fu Generation, yes. And
There we
they
Yeah.
they
They
did the
make
one they did
bangers.
One Punch Man, right?
Yeah, and Naruto.
Mhm. One of the Naruto ones.
Fighting Dreamers.
No, that was. I thought that was Flow.
Oh, that is
Yeah, that's
Flow.
Flow. That is
Yeah, that
Flow.
Oh
was
no,
Flow.
they do the one. Wait, what one? Anyways, fantastic opening. I skip the ending every time. Love
Yeah.
this series. 10 out of 10.
Ah.
A 10, you say?
Yeah,
Wowie
it's a
zowie.
10 for me. It's a 10 for me too. This is. I will acknowledge the fact that it's not something that I would recommend to every single person.
Yes.
Because there is-
This is another one where
there is sensitive warning, there is trigger warning. I
Yes.
understand this, I get it, but in terms of a like cinematic piece, it's something I would highly recommend still, right? Like I put it in categories of like it's a difficult watch. It's hard, right? If you have a direct connection with something like this, where it will, it'll kind of cause any sort of trigger on your side, for emotional state or whatever, then yes, avoid. But if you can handle this, watch it. Like, please do watch it. It's one of, if not the best anime that covers like time travel, alternate reality, again, like string theory type concepts. It does it perfectly well. It like excels at it even, I would say. And the mystery, how everything unravels is superb. So for sure a 10 out of 10 for me.
I'm not at a 10. Like, I'm at a solid 9.95. Like, this is still very highly regarded in my book. It's very high up there, but it's just, to me, it wasn't like, I feel like there are things that I could have talked about that I could have nitpicked a little bit more, which I'm not going to go back and do. But like, again, I really enjoyed my time with it. I think it's a great show. It's just not, as we said, not something we can recommend to everybody, but it is something that we can if we know the person. I enjoyed my time with it. I don't think it was like my favorite piece of media ever. I think maybe of watching it now, I don't know if this was my first watch, maybe so, but maybe the fact that it was my second watch and I kind of went into it being like, I know the main plot points, what the fuck happens in the middle, and just watched it for the middle pieces. Maybe that did affect it a bit, but like again, we'll split the difference and say a 9.25. Like it's a very very good show. And with that, thank you all for joining us this week. We greatly appreciate it. I guess it's really monthly or whenever the fuck we decide
Yeah.
we're going to post these
Monthly.
episodes, monthly-ish. Thank you for joining us this month. We greatly appreciate it. We will be back next month, maybe. Yeah, we do have another show picked out for the year 2017. So we will be back next month to go through another show in the year 2017. So until next time, Spark Triumph. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Hi, everybody.